Me going to business for myself? What are you talking about? Welcome back to the Project. You know, when I was a kid, before we even get into this,
oh God, here we go.
When I was a kid,
Triggered.
I really wanted to be a professional wrestler. Like, really wanted to be. Okay.
Yes, we know.
And
you're still running around in tights.
Yeah, whatever. But it's one of those things where, looking back now, knowing how I was in my 20s,
yes,
I would have gotten my ass kicked all over the place, no matter where it was, because I would have gone into business for myself multiple times. Because it's kind of, maybe not to the same degree, but it's kind of like giving Jim Cornette or Scott Steiner a live mic and no,
just a bad idea, just bad idea written all over it.
You get to see it every week on here, listeners. So
anyway, I'm the other guy, Big Dave,
and I'm Barry.
You know who that joker is.
Yeah, I'm Alan Smith. Anyway, so now that I've already derailed this thing, we're not even a minute in yet.
No kidding.
We're going to be talking about. Tell us what we're talking about, Barry. I don't even remember.
Okay,
I know. We've thrown around a couple of things. We're going to talk about something fun.
We have. We're going to have probably a few more episodes that touch on this particular topic later on down the road
because we want our MTV.
We want our MTV back.
Yes,
that's the way I want to say it. Is we want our MTV back.
Yeah,
and specifically what we're going to be talking about on this episode is going to be MTV Animation.
Yep.
Because there was a ton of different content that came out of the MTV studios.
And mainly from them just trying to find content to put on the channel.
Once they decided, I think it really started its growth in like 93. Was where you really started to see a good solid birth of what was going on in MTV that was content that was not necessarily music related.
They put The Real World on in 92 and it became a huge hit.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you mean that we can put shows on that's not music related and people will watch it?
They had already kind of started that back in the mid 80s when they were doing Monty Python's Flying Circus.
But they would put that stuff on like on Sunday night.
Right. And also wasn't their content.
Right.
That was stuff that they had bought in and brought in, and they've done that periodically.
And and of course the first thing they did was remote control.
Right.
But again, it was still in the same vein with a lot of it.
And we are definitely going to do an episode.
We're going to talk about remote control
later on.
That is a treasure.
Yes,
stuff.
Absolutely.
But they did that, and then they tried a couple other things, but it was The Real World that really like broke out as, hey, this is a big thing. Of course, that spun off Road Rules and then The Challenge eventually, and now that's all they have.
The whole dumpster fire that is reality
exactly,
TV.
just all reality television. But before those took over everything completely, we got liquid television.
Well, we had quite a bit on this.
All right, here we go. I'm going to let Barry do his.
Let's start.
He's got his
this.
Bible out.
Yes, I do. I've got my Bible, that tells me all about this actually, technically, it started back in '91 because the debut was, I believe, June 2nd. 1991 was when we first got the appearance of a little show called Liquid Television.
Yes.
Now, Liquid Television is hands down one of the most bizarre animated series that has ever existed. It was a compilation of any number of different stories, shows.
They were shorts. I mean, like what, 5-6 minutes long.
They
or
were
something
shorts,
like that.
but some of them were serials.
Yeah,
they actually carried on. It went on for 3 seasons. They actually 27 different episodes. Mm-hmm. And I looked high and low. It is next to impossible to find any of this stuff online anymore, and mainly because of the openings. So when they would do their openings, they would always have some type of a song that was being used at the time. That was a popular genre, and they would do what they called liquefy it, where they would have something that looked kind of like a lava lamp going in the background, where you would have like lips that come through it that looked like they were lip syncing the song or whatever. Right. And
because at that time MTV had carte blanche to use any music that they played.
Yes, and I mean,
which is why we don't get DVDs of this stuff these days.
Just to kind of give you an idea, these were not like throwaway songs. These were popular songs. Here's a couple of the ones, and I didn't know this. Do you know who the composer was for Liquid Television? Mark Mothersbaugh.
Really?
Yes. And I mean knowing that, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So, but just and again, there's a lot of different little series, but just to talk about the liquefied songs, some of the ones that they had were "What Up Dog" by Was Not Was, one of my favorites. "Hello Dad, I'm in Jail" by Was Not Was.
They really liked Was Not Was, didn't they?
"Love Shack" by the B-52s.
Yeah.
"Epic" by Faith No More.
Yeah.
The one that would just trip me out was "Addicted to Love" by Robert Palmer.
Yep.
And this one will always have a special place in my heart because it's my favorite band of all time. "Istanbul, Not Constantinople" by They Mighty
I remember
Giants.
when they did that one, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with Liquid Television, as we kind of described, it was basically like a combination shorts, serials. It was a 30-minute long show, and it would constantly have all these different kinds of segments in them.
And every week would be different.
Oh yeah, they would have
different.
they had some that kind of carried over, like Miss Lydia's Makeover of the Stars. You would see that in a couple of them where they would take a picture of like Sinead O'Connor and like draw makeup on her and put a wig on her and stuff like that.
Aeon Flux.
Aeon Flux was another big one that came out of there,
which was funny because it always seemed like she died at the end of all those shorts. And she'd be back the next time.
Absolutely,
like, what's going on here?
Well, and
the original Kenny.
Well, and the cool one that I loved was Stick Figure Theater.
Yes,
where they would literally
Hindenburg,
take classic
Hendrix at Woodstock was one of them.
Well, they did Angel and the Bad Man. Yes. They did Alfred Hitchcock. They did Madonna.
They did South by South or North by Northwest.
North by Northwest. They did Express Yourself by Madonna in stick figures. I mean, Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life. Cyrano de Bergerac.
I know, and it was like what, 2 minutes long?
Yeah, they were just a little bit. They weren't even 2 minutes. It was like a minute and a half, but it was just literally stick figures drawn to reenact scenes from either.
And what was so great
is
that the way that it was done, it was on like lined paper.
Yeah,
like
it looked like something you did in high school.
Yeah, so it was one of those things. It wasn't like a white piece and then you have these stick figures. It's like no, there are other lines.
Yes,
in the background as well.
So from this show, it actually birthed a couple of serials. The ones that were continuous ones that you would see through multiple different shows and multiple different episodes. One Dave already mentioned on this was Aeon Flux, which later begat its own series, and it's also its own movie, which was even worse. But there was another one that you guys might remember called Winter Steel. Winter Steel was this puppet that was like this, biker chick, blonde hair, black leather jacket.
Yeah. I know you're talking about. Yeah,
chasing a guy that she fell in love with, and it's a thing.
Yeah,
there's no other way to describe it.
That's the only way to. Yeah, it really is.
But it was they would have this continuous storyline that carried an entire season, and you had to follow each episode to find out what the hell happened. That went on, like I said, for about 3 seasons. They tried to rebirth it back in 2013.
Yeah, not the same.
It didn't work quite as well.
It kind of, it was kind of in the same vein with anybody that remembers the Twisted Animation festival that they used to do. Like, they would go around different places and they would basically show adult cartoons.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
the biggest birth out of this was by a little animator named Mike Judge.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
This gave birth to 2 icons
of Gen X.
Well, technically, if you really want to get down to it, 3.
Yes,
there were 3, but they didn't. The one person did not show up in this.
Yeah,
but there were 2 series on this. There was the Beavis and Butthead series.
Yes,
this began Frog Baseball.
Frog Baseball was the first one.
Yes, and Peace, Love, and Understanding was the other one that came out of this. But the other one,
that was the tractor, the monster truck.
Yes. Yeah. The other one that came out of this was Office Space, the animated show of Milton. Was
so first. That did start here because I know that those actually wound up on SNL. Later on.
Mike Judge kind of bounced that around to a few places, but it really got its birth in Liquid Television, and that begat the actual movie of Office Space. And that really kind of put him on the map. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about, since we're here, let's talk about Beavis and Butthead.
Okay.
Because Beavis and Butthead was the crown jewel of animation in 1993 for Mike Judge.
Yes.
This was a series that ran from 93 to 97. And it later had another rebirth. They brought it back
2011,
a couple times.
I think 2012,
like
somewhere
that.
in there. And it
was okay. It wasn't great.
The thing that they they changed up between the original run and
the videos.
Was with the video. Rather than doing videos, they were basically watching Jersey Shore and Teen Mom and that kind of stuff, which made perfect sense because that's what was on MTV at the time, and it was actually and YouTube videos. There were YouTube videos that they would watch.
So there's two reasons they did this. The first one is you're absolutely right. They were trying to remain current, but the bigger reason was they didn't have the license for any of those rights to use those songs.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why if you ever see DVD copies or restreams of Beavis and Butthead, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to have the music in it because they can't afford the rights to play them.
There's a few of them
because there's a ton of great music that was used in those videos.
There's a few of them that they did get. I mean, let's be honest. White Zombie owes their career to Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
Guar, White Zombie,
Pantera.
Pantera.
Well, Pantera was already on the upswing, but White Zombie legitimately, because that was the whole when they started watching the video for Thunderkiss 65.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, White Zombie started becoming a thing.
Yep.
And people were like, hey, who is this? This video is kind of cool. What's going on here? Why is this? What's all this Russ Meyer imagery? What's this?
I just remember the whale song "Homo Humping Slobo Babe," and I was like, I don't even know what this song is, but I'm so into it.
What was the push the little daisies and make them come?
Oh, Ween.
Ween, yeah. God, I hate that song.
Yeah, but so Beavis and Butthead kind of had its run, and from that, this was not an MTV show, but there was two characters that actually had their own kind of quote unquote spin-off. The first one was there was a character named Mr. Anderson that was Beavis and Butthead's next door neighbor. They were always whacking in his tool shed. And if you go and listen to it and look at it, it's Hank Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally Hank Hill.
This begat King of the Hill. But the story goes that Mike Judge tried to pitch that back to MTV. They didn't want it.
Right.
So he pitched it back over to Fox, and because it was more family-oriented and not, kid-oriented, they picked it up.
And it had more of a story, let's be honest.
And it is, to this day, my favorite
King of the
animated
Hill
series.
was way more story-driven than Beavis and Butthead ever was.
Oh,
Beavis and Butthead was always, it was half an hour long. It was 2 different cartoons, usually. Sometimes it would be
2, sometimes 3.
Yeah, but they were all like, okay, what kind of wacky stuff can we get them into this time?
Right.
What kind of chaos can they cause? What kind of blah, blah, blah. And so there really wasn't a whole lot of story that went through their stuff.
Nobody watched Beavis and Butthead for the content.
I know,
come on.
You were looking to see how the burnouts were going to hurt themselves this time.
A lot of it.
Exactly. And it's funny because you call them burnouts, but you never saw any drug reference in it.
No.
You never saw any alcohol reference in it.
The closest we got to it was when they were sniffing paint thinner.
Well, all right.
That
fair,
was,
fair. But
and they did get some non-alcoholic beer at one time.
Oh, that was too funny.
They thought they were drunk.
Just too funny. But the other show that kind of spun off of this, she got her own show in '97,
Daria,
and it ran for 4 years,
which was such a great show.
It was.
My neck. Yes, Daria Morgendorffer got
That's
her
because
own
you're the male equivalent of Daria.
Excuse me?
Excuse me. Anyway,
you're standing on my neck. La 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 la.
But for those of you who are unaware of Daria, it was almost like if Janine Garofalo had been turned into a cartoon,
a teenage
cartoon.
Yes.
It was damn near perfect because her friends were your friends at that time. You knew these kids when you were in high school. You had the perky cheerleader that was completely vapid. The football player who didn't know
Quinn. That was her sister.
Quinn was her sister that was constantly trying to be the next
Jane, who was her artist friend,
art school friend.
You had Trent, who was
Jane's brother
that played in a band that Daria was in love with, and
the fact that they love to get around and watch a TV show called Six Sad World.
Next on Six Sad World.
That just
and then
you might not be wrong.
And then you had her parents, the mom who was trying to be like, oh, everything's great, we're all good, we're a happy family, blah blah blah, and the dad who was like, yeah, everything's good, but he's like dying on the inside. Like there was that whole episode where he had like the from his stress, he had
the vein
popped in his eyeball, and everything. It's like, it's
definitely a nice. It fits into that my so-called life
a lot of
element.
Yes,
it fit into, as I said, the Janine Garofalo element.
Yes.
It fit into all of those types of things kind of encompassed. This is what begat Alanis Morissette kind of thing,
Except she was first. So.
Well, but you know what I mean. Anyway.
It's really funny to watch the character between Beavis and Butthead to her own show because they're completely different. I mean, basically all she did in the the first one in the Beavis and Butthead, she came around and just made fun of them.
She kind of just existed.
Yeah. And of course they kind of, they diarrhea, cha-cha-cha, that was kind of stuff. But what was funny, like in the first episode when they left, what's the name of the town Beavis and Butthead live in? Because that was the whole thing, was them leaving there and going to a new town.
Yeah.
And Beavis and Butthead is only referenced in that one episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, those two idiot guys that used to hang out or whatever. That was basically all it was. And then they never spoke of it again. And it was this whole other Daria's off in her own thing.
Well, so. and just to kind of go back on Beavis and Butthead, the thing that I loved the most in Beavis and Butthead was Stuart.
Yes.
Because for those of you that have never seen, I was about to say, for those of you that have never seen Beavis and Butthead, one's got an AC/DC shirt on. I think the other was what, Metallica?
Metallica.
Metallica and AC/DC.
So they're trying to show off how hardcore metal they are, and then one of their buddies comes by named Stuart, who's wearing a Winger T-shirt. Right.
And they're always making fun of him.
Oh, they're always this poor.
They're
kid.
always getting him into trouble.
That is their butters.
And
what it is.
Yeah, and his parents are extreme helicopter parents.
Yes.
And it's just, yeah.
I mean, there were so many 90s elements that existed in this show. Going back and watching it just from the outside point of view, forget the fact that it's lowball stupid humor.
Oh, absolutely.
Forget the fact that it's, the ridiculousness of, today's point, burnouts. It's still just such a snapshot of what it was like to exist in high school at the 90s.
Yeah, and when you get to the...
Because we all went to school with those idiots.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, but not. Yeah, I know exactly.
That was.
I went to multiple
name
schools.
both of them from my class right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to. But I
went to multiple schools with those idiots.
And but even like the teachers, you had Buzzcut, who was like, ex-military, very, everything's got to be very disciplined, and you're never going to get anywhere, blah blah blah. And then you had the hippie teacher. What was his name?
Oh,
Mr. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But yeah, the whole he was an ex
peace, love, and
everything.
guy.
Yeah, we're raping the earth, save a tree, plant a tree. And they run him over.
So MTV was known for having a lot of compilation shows. We talked a little bit about Liquid Television on this, and that really begat a lot of other ones. There was another one that they had for a short time called MTV's Oddities.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I loved.
It had
MTV
some
Oddities.
weird stuff on there. The Head came off of that.
Yes, the Head and the Max.
And the Max.
Which
the Max was an Image comic book.
Yeah, well, so was the Head. It was an Image though. It was another, it was an independent. But yeah, both of basically what MTV's Oddities were is it was I think 3 or 4 different stories that they would bring in on
Didn't
it.
Syphil and Ollie come off of that show?
No, Syphil and Ollie did not come off of Oddities. It was a separate show altogether.
Okay. Seems like there was another show. It was the Brothers Grant.
You're talking about Cartoon Sushi.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Cartoon Sushi.
Because the Max came off of Cartoon Sushi.
Yeah. Well, it came out of Oddities first.
Yeah, it was.
I remember watching
Oddities was very
Oddities with the Max.
Was very short lived.
The Max was one of my favorites, just because it was this big blue thing that for some reason could never tell if he was actually saying what he was thinking.
Yeah, the weird thing, the Max is so weird because it was that whole. It existed in the quote unquote real world, but also in a barbarian world, where it was a whole, the Max in the quote unquote real world was a homeless man.
Yes.
And what was the woman's name? She was a social worker.
Yeah, she was a social worker.
But then whenever you get over into, and she had like body image issues and all this kind. And if you read the comic book, it was really dark.
Oh yeah,
because she was a sexual assault survivor, and that was the whole thing. Like that. Even she was playing into a lot of this. They created this whole other fantasy world to kind of deal with a lot of this stuff.
Because he is the Max.
Yeah, and then whenever you get over into the Savage, I forget it wasn't the Savage Land. What do they call it? They called it something
like that. Yeah.
And the Max was this big hulking, purple, Goliath of almost an Incredible Hulk in a lot of ways. And she was this kind of like Sheena, warrior princess, type thing. And he was always fighting bunnies. They weren't bunnies.
No, they weren't bunnies, but they
looked like bunnies, and that was the whole thing. And it was a very bizarre show.
Very twisted.
Very bizarre
but a lot of fun.
Book. Yeah.
A lot of fun. And I'll say this much before we go too much further down this rabbit hole, guys. We could literally spend days talking about all of the different shows from MTV Animation.
Yes.
So you hear me do this a lot on episodes. If you have ones that we missed or that are special to you or that you want to bring up, shoot us an email, hit us up on Discord, talk to us about it, because I'm not going to be able to hit on everything on this, but these are some of the biggies and some of my personal favorites. So David mentioned Cartoon Sushi. That was another one that was kind of popular. I believe that one started right around 97. It only lasted about a year or so. Their first daily one, they actually had a weekday cartoon.
It went from October in 97 to June in 98.
Yeah, so around about a year and a half.
Not quite a year.
But Station Zero was their first daily one. Now, it didn't last very long. It only lasted like less than a season. You know, I think it lasted from March to right around April in 99. Okay. So it wasn't very long, but it was their first weekday cartoon. It was something that they had every weekday that they were showing on it. Another one that I wanted to bring up that, and I'm kind of bouncing around timelines on this because
Clone High. It's Clone High.
Clone High, yes, Clone High.
I have those DVDs in there.
This was actually the second one
back in the 1980s.
This is actually the second one that they had produced on this through Telent.
Yes,
was the company that produced. I can't remember what the first one. Teletoon. That's right. The first one was called Undergrads, and it did.
Oh yeah, and that one
it was okay.
It was all right. Great. I remember watching it, but it didn't last very long.
So, and the thing about Clone High.
Clone High had its own controversy and a shit ton of celebrity voices that wound up on this thing.
It was crazy. So the basis behind Clone High is it's a high school that exists if you could take famous celebrities from the past and clone them into
they're all teenage clones of
like Gandhi,
JFK, Lincoln, Joan of Arc, Cleopatra,
and like Lincoln is
what's his name,
captain of the basketball team. So
what's his name? Is it George Washington Carver? Yes. Because there's a whole episode with him and Gandhi that's hilarious. Oh yeah. And then you had and Jesus is one of them. There's all of these clones, and what's so funny is that like I said, the guests that came on this. Right. You had Michael J. Fox.
Yes.
You had Jack Black. You had Marilyn Manson.
Yep.
See if you get this one. Ashley Angel Parker. Ashley Angel Parker, that was his name. From O-Town.
Yeah.
Playing himself.
Dave is over here just cringing.
It's hilarious. It is absolutely. This show is so right. Yeah. And so, Marilyn Monroe was one. So right and so wrong,
evidently,
on so many levels. Because like the whole JFK thing, the John Kennedy, he's always like,
well, he was the captain of the football team.
He's captain of the football team, and he's like, ladies, man, it's like in the first episode, it's one of those things where they're like, he's on campus, and I forget who it was talking to him, and Marilyn Monroe walks by and she's crying. He's like, "What's wrong with her?" He's like, "I invaded her Bay of Pigs."
Oh no, it was bad.
So, it's that kind of stuff where it's just like, wow.
So it only lasted for a little over a season. It had.
There's a great episode where Joan of Arc is hearing voices, because that's the whole thing with, and blah, blah. And come to find out what the problem is that her cavities are picking up a radio station.
That's based off a true story, right?
I know, but it's
the Lucille
just
Ball thing.
It's so fun. It's that kind of stuff where it's just like, and the thing is that Gandhi's estate had a real problem with him.
They were not happy.
He was a little Adderall kid. I mean, he was just like blah, 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 like all over the place. I mean, it is hilarious. One season. They only got one season,
but
and
it's
it is
all you need.
Shame.
It's all you need.
It is a shame. Well,
speaking of shows that are just completely wrong, I'm going to go back to one of my favorites.
What's that?
Celebrity Deathmatch.
I was just about to bring that up. Celebrity Deathmatch.
Claymation at its best.
1998 to 2002. And literally,
when it was
nobody was safe.
When it was good, it was good. But when it was bad,
it was the worst.
Oh, God, it was terrible.
So for those of you that have never seen...
And then there's the cockfight. So.
Well, and then they tried to do a brink... Yikes. So in 2000...
Because it's one of the funniest things they ever did on there. So.
Every time.
Tommy Lee versus Ron Jeremy.
Yes.
And they're actually dressed like roosters.
You always go to the worst possible episode ever.
And Tommy Lee pokes out Ron Jeremy's eye.
I got to admit, it's one of my favorites. But This show, for those of you that aren't familiar, it did actually try to get a rebirth back in 2006.
Yeah, they tried, but
it didn't last very long. There's no way they could have done it the way that they did it before. But for what this was, essentially, it was claymation.
Yes.
And it wasn't great claymation, but it was claymation.
And it wasn't supposed to be. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, and what was who are the two hosts?
I don't remember. I know they had Mills Lane doing
Vic something or another.
Yeah, and I forget who, but they had like a Vic Lane.
Yeah.
or Vic Mills Lane.
Judge Mills Lane was. This is where the infamous line "Let's get it on" comes from, because Mills Lane actually was a judge.
Yeah,
he was I think a circuit court judge or something.
Right.
And initially they got him in as a voiceover act for the ref.
Yeah.
And it slowly became one of the most popular characters in the show.
Hell, there was a video game. of this on the PS2.
There were actually two of them.
It's just crazy.
Oh yeah. So. But and this literally panned any celebrity against any other celebrity. Nobody was safe.
Nobody was safe.
The combinations that they would come up with were just crazy. And of course, the matches always ended in the most gory, gruesome possible method that you can imagine, to the point where you have to tell yourself it's clay.
It's claymation, and that's how they got away with it.
Yeah.
It's
clay. You know, and they even had a disclaimer at the beginning of
the Ozzy Osbourne, Marilyn Manson.
Yes, yes. I forgot about that one.
And Ozzy's belt broke on his leather pants, and his guts spilled over. Yes. It's like,
which I'm afraid may not be too far from the truth now.
It's hilarious.
When he did the halftime show for
the other night, I know I was like, Ozzy's on. Wow, okay.
What did you notice how
I did? Outfit? I heard him. I was like, Ozzy's playing. Okay,
they had him come up from under the stage. I literally think they had some kind of bracing system hooked to him to hold him upright.
He's got Parkinson.
Yeah,
but yeah, they had. There was one that was Britney Spears and somebody else, and it just like. Was it Chris? It wasn't Christina Aguilera.
It was Christina Aguilera.
Oh yeah,
and it wound up just devolving into like the thing you wanted to see happen to all of them, basically.
Pretty much.
But it came down.
Pretty much, it was just brutality for the sake of brutality, and it was wonderful.
Yes, it was. Yes,
but
it was.
But
like I said, a little bit of it went a long
well,
way.
Yeah,
they would have like 8-hour marathons of it and stuff. It's like, all right,
and then after about the second hour, you're just like, okay, I'm
second hour, 45 minutes in, I'm like, okay, let's see something.
So what else is on television? Yeah, I know.
But it's still fun, and it's one of those things that they do from time to time. We'll show some of the older episodes, and you can find those in a variety of sources.
Probably go to Daily Motion.
Definitely worth looking at. They're a lot of fun. Again, there was other shows that they had, like Where My Dog's At. That one didn't really last. Jeff Ross was on that one.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually did a Friday the Animated series based off the movie.
Yeah, that was an
that
MTV2 show.
Okay.
It was only on MTV2.
I do remember the 2003 Spider-Man animated. You remember? Mm-hmm. That was actually in canon with the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. And it had, I know, Neil Patrick Harris was Peter Parker. Ian Ziering was he was Harry Osborn, and Lisa Loeb was Mary Jane Watson.
Nice.
And it was actually really good. Like it was that weird, like that vector animation, where it was kind of computerized and stuff. And I think it went like 2 seasons or something. It's actually really good to go back and check out. So.
Okay. Well, again, there's several other, Fish and Chips came out of there. There was actually one called The Adventures of Chico and Guapo. That was
I remember it being on, but I never watched it.
It didn't last very long, but the big thing on that one's Orlando Jones.
Oh, okay.
Was the voice on that one.
Make 7 Up yours.
Yeah, exactly. Stephen Colbert even had a show on there called Fairview. That was an animated show. And again, it didn't last spectacularly long, but
it's funny to like talk about some of these shows that MTV put out there, and you can draw a straight line from them to a lot of the the early Adult Swim stuff.
Yes.
Like Mission Hill or the Oblongs or some of that kind of stuff where it's like, no, I see the DNA is here for all of this.
So there are 2 biggies. Okay. And I've been holding off on these to the end because both of these shows actually got their start on MTV. Both of these shows didn't stay on MTV, but they got their start there. The first one,
Ren and Stimpy,
one of my absolute favorite shows of all time. That one,
it's log.
It's heavy, it's wood.
It's better than bad. It's good.
International log.
Stevie, anyway. Don't be on the electric fiend.
So for years when I was in high school, we would go back and forth talking about the Jolly Candy like button. Mm-hmm. I had a friend of mine named Paul McKay that every time I'd pass him in the hallway, he'd look at me and go, "Oh, my beloved ice cream bar." And I would lose it every time. But yes, Ren and Stimpy. Back when John Kay was actually starting this series.
Before we knew what kind of a piece of shit he really was.
We found out what kind of a horrible human being he is. This is where they got their start. And they started off with, I think, like a 5-episode run. It wasn't very long because they ran the same ones over and over again.
Yes, they did.
But,
oh, my God, did they run the same ones over and over again.
You would watch them. You would definitely watch them. And
you would watch them.
Well, all right, fair.
Okay, that would make 2 of us.
Then
I'll go ahead and say it. I've never been a big Ren and Stimpy fan.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, how can you not? It's stupid humor along the same lines as Beavis and Butthead.
No, it's not.
Well,
although I can see a direct line from Ren and Stimpy to SpongeBob.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
which I never got that one either. So
they branched off and they eventually left there and went over to Cartoon Network and
they went to
Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. And that's
and
where
Nickelodeon promptly got rid of them.
Oh yeah. Well, they promptly got rid of John Kay.
In a hurry. But they got rid of the show because they what did we buy?
Yeah.
What did we buy?
Oh, they had no idea what this was. And they had no idea how to market it. The funny thing is, if you go back and look at any of those Nicktoons pictures of Rugrats and
Rugrats.
All those other kinds of ones, they always have Ren and Stimpy there. It was always a part of that. Nobody knew what this was. Nobody knew how to process this information. Nobody knew what to do with this thing because this is clearly not a kid's show.
Oh no!
The only time you could really catch it was Nick at Night after midnight.
Yeah.
Eventually, they were showing them in the middle of the day at one point, and I mean at 3:00 in the afternoon or something. But
and for those of you that didn't actually get into the Ren and Stimpy thing, you still have to remember how big of an impact that show had on pop culture history. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was everywhere. I couldn't think of
so many T-shirts.
Can you name another TV series?
Video games.
Well, hang on. Aside from The Simpsons, can you name another TV series, an animated series that produced 3 separate albums that came out of the 90s?
Rugrats.
Did it really?
Yeah, move the soundtracks.
Well, but you're talking about movie soundtracks.
I know,
I'm talking about albums.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's
it was crazy. I still remember having You Idiot.
Yeah. But and also you get into the video games.
Oh,
because
games,
Beavis and Butthead had a couple of video games. Yep. Ren and Stimpy had a couple of video games. Celebrity Deathmatch had a video games.
Yes. I mean, let's call it. Ren and Stimpy and The Simpsons are the 2 cartoons that have had the biggest effect on cartoons the way they are today.
Negative, sir. I will throw one more in there that is on my list.
Okay.
That got its start on MTV from a little known tape that was being circulated by, of all people, George Clooney.
You're talking about South Park.
I am talking about South Park.
Okay.
Did this originate on MTV?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. It originated on MTV Productions.
How? Give me the DNA on this one.
I've read a couple of different sources on this, and all of them said that this originated on MTV because they showed the spirit of Christmas.
Okay. Which was just a video Christmas card originally from those 2 idiots.
To a point, yes. Right. But it's the raunchiest damn thing that they had ever gotten away with playing.
Yeah, Santa Claus and Jesus having a fight to the death.
Broken up by Brian Boitano.
Yes. What would Brian Boitano do?
Well, it's so strange to go back and watch this now and to think, of all the crap that South Park has begot since then, to realize that this was deliberately trying, Trey Parker and Matt Stone were trying to come up with the most offensive, ridiculous thing that they could come up with, and they made it strictly to make their friends laugh. That's the only reason why they said they made this thing. Somehow one of these tapes got into the hands of George Clooney, who showed it at parties. Mm-hmm. His friends loved it. Which
is funny because later he played a dog on several episodes.
He played the gay dog.
The gay dog, yeah.
He played the gay dog, and he also, in one of the movies, he played a doctor. He's the one who replaces Kenny's heart with a baked potato.
Okay.
So, yeah, I liked a little bit of South Park. Mm-hmm. But, yes.
I liked it to a point.
It started off on MTV, and they showed it late nights.
Okay.
And
I'll be honest, I don't ever remember seeing
Yes.
South Park on MTV.
I do.
Yeah, it was always Comedy Central for me.
Because it became part of MTV's entertainment studios, and at that point, MTV had bought out Comedy Central.
Viacom,
Viacom, all right,
had owned MTV and Nickelodeon and Comedy Central, and what was the other one? Well, they owned VH1.
Yep.
And there was another like
there's a couple of other.
You were like, wow, they own that, But yeah, and eventually they owned CMT as well. CMT and the Nashville Network.
It wasn't the Smithsonian Channel, but it was something.
Yeah,
like
it was something like it was this weird, but it was all under the Viacom banner, and so they did kind of move those things around different places, But yeah, that's all right. Since it was shown on there, I'll allow it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. If you look back in the 90s, the 3 biggest animated series that came out of the 90s that were just juggernauts, you were either Simpsons, South Park, or Ren and Stimpy. They were everywhere.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
And people were just, so...
There is one other one that we're forgetting.
Okay.
Tasmania.
No.
No, seriously. If you think about, especially if you go back to the early 90s, how many people did you know that had a Taz t-shirt or a ball cap or any of that kind of stuff? Because all of a sudden there was this Taz, the Tasmanian Devil became this huge thing, okay?
No.
All the way through the 90s. It did. And it was a lot of that came from because of Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, and all that kind of stuff. And so it was one of those things that for whatever reason, the Tasmanian Devil had this huge influx all the way through the 90s. I'm not denying
I
had a T-shirt with Taz with the backwards hat and the
I could see an argument for Animaniacs.
Yeah,
I could see an argument for Animaniacs.
I would agree with Dave.
Tasmania, no, not so much.
Because if you think about it,
all those
they were
Disney
going for the
cartoons.
character. They were not going for the stories. Nobody was buying DVDs of Tasmania. They were buying DVDs of South Park. They were
eventually
buying
in the 2000s. Yeah,
of,
but the thing is, you look at all of that Disney afternoon stuff that's strictly 90s.
Right.
Gummy Bears, Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales.
You're talking about some of my favorite things.
All of Animaniacs. Well, I guess that wasn't Disney, but all of those
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, and then
Water Tower.
Let's be honest. There's one other one that we're forgetting about that is probably the cartoon from the 90s.
What's that?
Batman the Animated Series.
Well, all right, I'll give you that.
You're not wrong.
That is,
but cycling back to MTV,
I know, but it's
so there was, as I said, there's a ton of other ones. David mentioned, DJ and the Fro. You had Popzilla. You had, Greatest Party Story Ever, and Good Vibes. Good Vibes was a weird one. It didn't last very long, but it was kind of just tucked in there.
Mm-hmm.
Video Mods.
Video Mods was actually the first one that was on MTV2.
Yeah.
And Video Mods was actually kind of cool.
I liked Video Mods.
But
I don't remember any of those.
Well, you didn't have MTV2.
I did have MTV2. I just didn't watch it.
We're going to, because all of this kind of fell under the same umbrella, MTV Animation later became MTV Entertainment. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of movies that came out of this series or of this
Beavis and
grouping.
Butthead Do America.
Well, hang on. The first one, though, came out of a live action shot.
Yeah.
Joe's Apartment.
Yeah.
With poor Jerry O'Connell having to deal with that many cockroaches.
Let's be honest. That short is way better than that movie.
Oh, the movie was horrible.
To have been.
The movie was horrendously bad.
Garbage. The short was fun.
The short was great,
man. Yeah.
Yeah. And they used to run it continuously.
Yes, they did.
Towards the later evening time frame.
That and the Donald Logue with the taxi driver.
Yes.
That dude, it was all over the place.
It was great.
Yeah.
But so you had the first one was Joe's Apartment, which was basically a live action version of a guy living in an apartment in New York City, and his best friends were the cockroaches that lived with him in
and he had a
abundance.
Yeah, and they were trying to help him, but they kept messing everything up.
To bribe the cockroaches, he throws down a T-bone, and all that's left is the little But so the next one that came out of that, the biggest one was Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Yes.
And for those of you that have not seen this movie, this had some amazing voiceover work in it that most people would never have associated with a Beavis and Butthead. Robert Stack.
Yeah. Is probably, of course, you have Bruce Willis and Demi Moore.
Yes.
I mean, that's, yeah.
And again, you have Mr. Anderson making his appearance again. to where this, to me, really is where you start to see him transforming into to Hank Hill more.
Cloris Leachman.
Cloris Leachman was in it. I mean, but
there was a bunch, and of course you get that animation in the middle from Rob Zombie, which is really cool.
Awesome.
And
well, now, just recently, we had
Butthead Do the Universe.
which unfortunately none of us have seen yet, but I've heard nothing but
I keep meaning to
about
watch it, and I just keep forgetting.
And there's actually 2 Daria movies that I was.
Is it fall yet, and is it college yet?
Yes.
But they were television movies.
They were television movies, and they were like basically it was like an extended episode.
They were basically 2 hour and a half episodes.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean they were, and I remember watching. Is it fall yet? And,
I've never seen Is It College Yet. I know that's the series finale. Of them like graduating high school and all that kind of stuff. And I own that Daria.
The box set,
and I've just never gotten around to watching it. I need to one of these days because I heard that it was actually a really good send off for all those characters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, with those, do you have to watch the series to be able to watch these movies?
Yeah.
With the Daria ones, you kind of have to. I would say the Beavis and Butthead ones, you don't.
You don't.
You really don't. You can kind of go into those cold. But the Daria ones, it definitely helps to have that kind of
that background.
Exactly. And
well, again, like you said, they're extended episodes. So and Daria told a story from from beginning all the way to the end.
And if you haven't seen the Daria stuff yet, you really should.
The problem with the DVDs is again goes back to the music licensing because they couldn't get some of it, so it's like,
but Daria didn't use as much music in it.
There was some stuff like
there was little cutaways and stuff, but
when they were on the way to Lollapalooza,
that was definitely more Beavis and Butthead. Now one that we haven't talked about yet is Wonder Chosen. I completely forgot about this one. I had to go back and watch it.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was like a twisted version of Sesame Street.
Yeah,
it was just bizarrely weird.
What year did that come?
It was on around the same time that like Tom Green show was on.
Stifle and Ollie and those kinds of shows were starting to make their appearance on there, which, again,
by that time I'd pretty much quit watching it.
Well, and I never qualified Stifle and Ollie as an animated series, and
Stifle and Ollie were like sock puppets.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a weird.
And
I watched a handful of episodes. Like, this is just.
Yeah, it's the precursor to like Rick and Morty.
Yeah. It's like who let the Quiznos guy get a full episode?
Yeah, a little bit,
pretty much. I mean, so
the Sponge Monkeys. Yeah,
God,
exactly.
So
Quiznos subs, it's what we want.
Have a couple of touches on these. So a lot of these, you can find. MTV.com still has several of these types of things on. However, there are certain ones that are not. Obviously Beavis and Butthead is still on there, but Ren and Stimpy is not on there. South Park's not on there. Those are separate entities altogether.
Well, they belong to other networks. I mean,
right. Once they left that network, MTV kind of washed their hands of it. However, we were talking earlier about Liquid Television.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a Liquid Television revival in 2011.
It didn't do so well.
It didn't last long. It only lasted about maybe a year. The best thing about it, though, was the first content that they had on there was a song called, it was the only liquefied song that they did on there. It was by a band called Wallpaper, and the song is called The Fucking Best Song Ever.
All right. But, that also kind of gets into that, Tenacious D tribute,
very much
type stuff. And
But because Liquid Television was never put on MTV.com, like I said, it was next to impossible to find anything for this. However, dear listeners, there is now a liquidtelevision.com.
Okay.
It is a subscription base, of course.
Okay.
But it has several bits that were available on there, plus some of the shows that were in the segments that were in other shows that they've kind of incorporated into this so that they weren't lost to time. Like, for example, The Head and The Max are both on liquidtelevision.com.
Okay.
They're not on MTV.com. This one does have Daria.
Makes sense.
Daria's brought in there. Wonder Chosen's on there. Celebrity Deathmatch is on there.
Aren't they working on a Daria revival of some sort?
I've heard tale of them trying to do a bring back on this. I don't know. I haven't seen too much.
If here's my take on that. If they're going to do it, let's have Daria at 40.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to reboot this as oh no, we'll just take Daria and put her, as a teenager and put her into this. No, that is not going to work.
No, we need Daria at 40 with her own kids and nightmare husband.
And bitter and still, in true Gen X form, And all of these shows, I definitely think, well, I shouldn't say all, but most of these shows, for the most part, were of their era.
Yes, very.
Are they going to be
very of their era?
Yeah, I mean, are there something that's rewatchable? I would say they're rewatchable for anyone that remembers them, but not necessarily from somebody new.
No, you're not going to get Gen Z to watch these. I mean, maybe Beavis and Butthead.
I take it back.
Maybe Beavis and Butthead.
Gen Z, I think, would be more likely to watch these and kind of get them. But the millennials
kind of grew up with some of it, though. I mean, as much as it's Gen X, they were alive. Again, it kind of goes back to, but it's. And especially when you're getting into that late 90s, early 2000s, they were cognitive of what was.
They were cognitive. I don't think they got the sense of humor.
Let's be honest.
I think some of the younger Gen Zs would get this humor.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Celebrity Deathmatch is not a Gen X thing. That is a millennial thing.
To a point. I would disagree with that because of the elements that they brought into it. Most of the people that they were bringing into Celebrity Deathmatch were
of the time.
And
so you're talking about the stuff that was actually pointed at the millennials rather than us by that point.
Yeah, but if you think about it, who wanted to see those people get destroyed more?
Well, we
millennials or Gen X, so
we did, obviously.
That's what I was saying. They may have used them as the target, but they were speaking to us. So, but I really would be curious to see feedback from our listeners on this. If you remember these shows, if you're familiar with them, were there ones that were your favorites, or were there ones that you just thought were stupid as hell? And more importantly, is this the kind of stuff that you would show to your kids?
No.
Is this the kind of stuff that you would show
I'll go ahead and say that right now.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I think my 17-year-old
when he's a little
nephew,
older, maybe.
Okay.
But
I definitely don't think this is something that you'd show to a preteen or something like that. But these were never meant for them.
It depends on.
I'll say this: I have no kids, and I'm the bad uncle. So
maybe Ren and Stimpy most definitely would appeal to my 8-year-old.
Oh yeah.
Okay. There's no
that's low hanging fruit.
Yeah. Beavis and Butthead, he wouldn't understand a lot of it because it's very of its time.
Right.
Again, but dumb people acting dumb. I'm sure he would find that funny. Daria, way above his pay grade.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Clone High, way above his pay grade.
Yeah.
I mean, you get into that kind of stuff. Celebrity Deathmatch, I don't think he would be interested in that in the slightest.
I don't know. I don't know. I think just
mainly because he won't know who the hell most of the people are in it.
But I don't think it'll matter. It's just the gore factor of it.
Maybe. I don't know.
But when you look back at things like Daria, I mean, to your point, I do agree that if they're going to do any type of a continuation of the story of Daria, it needs to be her in modern time.
Yes.
That still holds the same kind of anger and bitterness that we all hold.
Well, there was an episode of Daria where there was some kind of family gathering and her aunt was there and they were almost identical.
Yes.
Where it was like, okay, we know what Daria is going to be in 25 years, basically type stuff. So, we've kind of gotten a glimpse into that.
I mean, I can see it going one of two ways. She's either married, had kids,
or she's just the cool aunt. I mean, that's
and
I can see Quinn divorced with a couple of kids.
Yeah.
And Daria being the cool aunt, actually being
either
more
that
of a
or
mom
married
to
and
her,
actually
to
found
the kids than Quinn,
or found a dude that's as cool as she is,
or you flip it around and she has a daughter and her daughter is Quinn, basically Quinn.
There you go.
that would be, I think, because that's forcing her to have to relive high school through her daughter's eyes.
I don't know.
I don't know. Are you listening, MTV? Make this happen.
Yeah.
No. The people who made our MTV
are not there.
Exist.
They're not there.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
And
and as I mentioned, there are other shows that were existing on MTV, and I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that I didn't touch on through this that people are screaming at me about right now. But there are other moments and shows that were just so iconic.
Just remember their little interstitial animations.
Oh God, yes.
Stuff.
The Dennis Leary stuff.
I'm talking about their
Donald
animations.
Logue stuff.
I'm talking about just their animations. Like the MTV promos and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, so funny enough, the MTV
like
promos,
the guillotine. The MTV guillotine. That was brilliant.
Well, even just the initial rocket launch.
Yeah.
It
was animated over top of.
Yeah.
There
was so many, and when they were cutting promos of like the whole "I want my MTV" and you see the thing bouncing around, I still remember the one with Billy Idol where he sneers.
They've got him animated. I know.
And they've got him animated. I loved the way that MTV utilized this process, and I think that they were very smart when they started this. I think once they started to see that this was marketable, they started to say, hey, okay, well, let's see what else we can put out. And in a way, it was kind of the gloves are off, whatever you want to do, we're going to let you do it.
They definitely
just kind of let it
were
run.
Given free range to do a lot of stuff.
They weren't going to give them any money to do it, but they were going to give them, free reign to do it. And I think that's that's where you get stuff like Beavis and Butthead and Daria and Aeon Flux and, these types of shows. There's no way that those would have ever been able to be created on any of the major networks.
Oh, hell no.
No way.
No. There was the fact that South Park made it to a quote unquote network.
Yeah.
Even
though it's another cable network, it's still,
still, with Comedy Central is still kind of baffling in some ways, but it found its legs very early.
Yes.
From very early, it caught and it was a cultural phenomenon,
and still
closer
is to
napalm.
I mean, you're still getting,
it's still ongoing. I've heard that it's still relevant in a lot of ways. I don't know. I have not watched South Park in probably 20 years, honestly.
Yeah.
I've caught an episode here or there sometime in there, but I've not sat down and watched South Park on a regular basis probably since the movie came out.
Which one?
The first. The bigger cut. Bigger, was it bigger, longer,
longer, uncut? Yeah.
Since that movie was released in 99, I haven't kept up with them hardly.
Well, I think maybe it's suffering from the same thing that The Simpsons suffered from a while, where after a while you're just looking at each other going, okay, now what?
Well, I understand, especially with the way that they legitimately will make a show in 7 days. Right. So it's very topical of what's going on at the time. And that's great. And I think that, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are actually pretty brilliant.
I agree.
Honest.
I agree. I don't agree with everything they do or say.
But they're very libertarian.
Yes, and
very libertarian.
And they know how to hold a mirror up properly.
And they have no problem going after everybody. It doesn't matter how sacred of a cow that is.
I'm sorry. I still
Muhammad.
I still have to go back to my Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
Streisand.
Yeah, I know. It's Robert Smith.
That is the best line from any episode of South Park.
Disintegration is the greatest album ever.
Disintegration is the greatest album ever. Still to this day.
They're not wrong.
Still to this day, love that. Goodbye, Robert Smith.
Well, you got to love when Barbara Streisand actually had to make a comment about South Park.
Yes. Oh my!
And you also got to love the fact that they went after certain celebrities, like Elton John was somebody they went after.
Yep.
And then Elton John's like, I want to be on your show.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
When they go after him and Blanket, and I'm just like, oh God, this is not going to end well.
But the whole thing, what I'm saying is,
they
went after Elton John, and Elton John's like, no, I want to come on. I'll play myself.
He got the joke.
That's fine. I'll do it.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
No, and that's one of the things I've always loved about Elton John is that he will see the whole Eminem thing.
Yep.
Where he's like, no, I'm going to perform with him. I don't care what anybody else is saying. I want to get to know this person.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, and it's like, that's.
Well, I'm sorry. One of my favorite things that Elton John has ever done is being in The Kingsman.
Yes.
I mean, that's
himself.
Kingsman 2.
Playing himself, yeah.
I mean, playing himself, that's hysterical.
Can I get a backstage?
I mean, when you can laugh at yourself.
Can I get an
like
autograph?
That,
I'll get you a backstage pass.
I also love the fact that Elton John has never had any problems whatsoever calling Madonna out on her bullshit.
No.
Going way back.
Jeez. Well, listen, guys. You've heard us rant and rave about MTV Animation and the shows that came from there. You can tell that we love them. Not all of them, but we love them.
Yeah.
And again, as I said earlier, if there's any ones that we've missed, if there's any ones that, specifically spoke to you or you have any stories that you want to share with them, hit us up on Discord, hit us up on the Instas, send us email. Alan, get them that email address again there, Alan.
projectgenxpod@gmail.com. The link is in the show notes.
Yes.
All you have to do is just click on it and you can email us. We've had people, Chad emails us every once in a while.
Miss O sends
us stuff. Especially on Discord. Discord, we get stuff on discount, we get stuff all the time. Yeah,
she posts some of the best Halloween stuff.
Yes.
Posts some of the best stuff in general.
Well, yeah.
And of course we got all
stuff
kinds of
awesome.
other people that, and we love to grow our community.
Yes.
So tell everybody about it. Send them, our Instagram. I'm not using it as much as I did it one time. I need to start doing
I'm still over there.
So.
Dave's still over there.
Yeah.
Discord is our biggie, though. That's the one where we're building a great community over there, and we love our
because
Discord
again,
listeners.
we're getting to know people.
Yeah,
rather
they're
than
getting to know
just
us.
being
It's real-time
you know,
interaction,
exactly,
which I like.
Absolutely.
Well,
and believe me, if you go to Discord and post something, one of us will reply to it, whether you want us to or not.
Yep. Even if it's at like 3 a.m. Yes, we're talking to you, Miss. So
yeah, I think she's kind of every once in a while she's like, "Why are you still awake?"
Go back and reference the insomnia.
Yes. All right, let's wrap this up, boys.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us here at the Project Genetics podcast. Like I said, go and check out all of our notes with all of our links in the show notes. I'm Alan Smith.
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And I'm Barry, and I still want my MTV back.
And we will see you soon.
Later.
You're standing on my
mind. You jerk.
Excuse me. Excuse me.